Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Point Counterpoint. Here's your host, Mark 76. Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Point Counterpoint. I'm your host, Mark 76, and I am joined by my tag team partner, the one, the only, the Celtic Casanova, Johnny McIntyre. We're going to call him Bob for the show. Bob, how are you?
I'm not in Windows protection anymore. I can use my real identity. It is I, Bob Stedford. I am here joining you, Mark, again. It is good to see you. It's been a while since we've had a Point Counterpoint, but I'm excited that we're back. We got something juicy to talk about, which is last night's Royal Rumble. We are filming this on Monday night, just almost 24 hours from the conclusion of the 2021 Royal Rumble Coronavirus Edition.
Well, 24 hours. Bob, I'm going to steal a message from you. I'm on a diet. I'm trying to work out, and I'm on keto.
Nice.
And I have myself a Truly.
Oh, God.
So I'm going to bust it open for you, Bob.
All right. Well, see, this is we've done a little bit of trading places here. I am on day 27 of sobriety right now. So I am.
Are you doing the no alcohol January, or this is a whole thing?
I'm doing a dry 60 days to start the year, and I started about 5 days late just to finish up what was in my fridge. But so yeah, I'm a little cranky. I watched the Royal Rumble by myself last night,
and without beer,
without my friend Tito or any delicious IPAs. So it was a different experience for me. I actually remember it. I didn't need to take notes. There were no parts of it that were blurry. I saw it with 2020, and it wasn't all that bad. But we'll get into it. On the pre-show, we started off with the women's tag team title match of Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax challenging Asuka and Charlotte Flair for their women's tag team titles. There was some. Are we allowed to curse on this one? I forget.
Yeah, go for it.
There was some fuckery at the finish. Lacey Evans getting involved. Costing Charlotte and Asuka the tag team titles. I found the booking very interesting. I don't really understand why they went the direction they did. What was the point of Asuka and Charlotte dethroning Nia and Shayna in the first place?
Right.
Like usually the strange bedfellows tag team formula leads to, them dissolving and feuding between themselves.
Yeah, this definitely felt like they needed something for Charlotte to do. So they gave her the tag team championship run. And, that would have been great if it led to her maybe winning the Rumble, which we'll talk about later. Yeah. And that didn't happen either. So you're right. Like, why even change it? Why not build up?
The only thing the match did was further the feud between Lacey Evans and Charlotte Flair. But you could have easily done the same things in the Royal Rumble by, say, having Lacey maybe throw Charlotte out, which would really elevate Lacey in a way, too, going in the feud. Because, Charlotte is the end-all, be-all to women's wrestling in WWE. Like, she's their top star. It's obvious. They think the world of her, deservingly so. She's a phenomenal performer. She's a five-tool player. I think she deserves the spot she's in. But, the internet crowd gets real tired of her pretty quickly.
Yeah, and there's that one body part that people keep talking about.
Which one? The one that just got reduced, or the one that could use a little bit of
it needs a little bit more of a grip.
Some more squats, so to speak.
Well, so do I. Listen,
but anyway, moving on to the main
moved on. And the following match, the opening match of the show, was Goldberg challenging Drew McIntyre for the world title. And Bob, I said it in the thread last night. I said it to you before we recorded. For a 7-minute match, I was entertained. Goldberg got his hope spot in. Drew got his hope spot in. 7 minutes is about what I could take for a Bill Goldberg match in 2021.
Which that was mostly entrances, because the from bell to bell, it was 2.5 minutes on the nose.
And you know what? It was an entertaining 2.5 minutes. It was short, sweet. I don't think either one of us predicted Goldberg was going to win the title, but I think there was a big sigh of relief when he lost.
Sure.
And I think that made the match even better for me because the right guy won. So I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was bad at all. It was pretty entertaining for, 2 minutes, like you said.
If we have to watch Goldberg wrestle in 2021, that's fine by me. What happened last night was perfect. He came out. He was like Motley Crue on his 14th retirement tour. Came out, just played the hits, and then went to the back, passed the torch to Drew, so to speak, gave him his endorsement. But just to get to the roots of it, that whole feud was built on something so silly.
That didn't even happen.
Was Drew not being respectful to the legends and the boys in the back, where the entire night that was, exposed as to why Goldberg had a beef with Drew McIntyre, he was in the back, like he was posing with Hogan. He was shaking hands with everybody, giving respect. Like it made no sense. I'm glad it's over with. McIntyre retained, as it should have been. And, they played with the WWE universe and that, and the hesitant fans that thought they were going to put Goldberg over. So I can appreciate that.
So that whole angle never happened. If you recall, that was Legends Night, and they went long. And apparently McIntyre was supposed to cut an angry promo towards the Legends, and it never happened. So then Goldberg comes out, spews this garbage against Drew, and we're like, wait, what? What's and the entire night
did not make a lick of sense.
No. Well, let's move on. What was the next match, Bob?
The next we had Sasha defending her SmackDown Women's title. What flavor you drink? I just got it now. I mean,
this is truly lemon tea.
All right. Well,
it is 2 carbs per serving.
Okay.
I'm doing keto. I'm trying to lose some weight, and I'm doing X3. If you ever heard of X3, so
I have not.
We'll see how that works. I just started it a week ago, so we'll see how it. I'll take some before and after picks.
And sommeliers, we have Sasha Banks taking on Carmella for the SmackDown Women's title. Carmella had her sommelier. I cannot remember. Richard, what's his name? Richard or something?
No, not Richard. Oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. But all I know is he stole it from me. Not only here, but later on in the evening too. And I'll tell you what, I wasn't a fan of Carmella when she was running around with R-Truth, but I like Carmella now. She is that sneaky heel. She's getting better in the ring, and I thought the match was pretty good. Obviously, Sasha carried her.
She's found herself in this feud with Sasha, but it's time for Sasha to move on to, bigger and better things, which we'll get into later because I have some thoughts on that. Sasha won again in this feud with Carmella. I think that's the right decision. It elevated Carmella to me. She needs something of importance to sink her teeth into next if they want to keep somebody on the upper echelon of women.
I agree 100%.
Somebody outside of your Baileys, your Sasha, your Becky, your Charlotte, and your Asukas. Well, that's obviously the top tier, and then they have had a really hard time on the main roster building that second tier.
Well, maybe some NXT people will help, and I think you and I both predicted an NXT winner, even though we chose different ones.
Yeah, I agree.
So then, moving on from that match, was it the Women's Rumble, Bob? Was that next?
The Women's Rumble up next,
right? Very well booked.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought the first 2 were Bayley and I know Belair came in at 3. Who the hell was in there with Bayley? Either way, look, I look at Bayley like an Arn Anderson, like a women's Arn Anderson. You could stick her in there with anybody. She'll put on a good match. She'll put on a good show. She might not get all the accolades she deserves from the crowd.
It was a woman who came back, married the Uso. I can't think of her name.
Oh yeah, Trinity. What Trinity Fatu? What's her work name?
I forget. Naomi.
There we go. I always liked her. I thought she looked great in the match. No ring rust for her. She stayed in for a long time as well.
Mm-hmm.
So here I'm going to throw it to our first miss of the night was the nostalgia.
Yeah.
The selection for nostalgia in the women's match, for a lack of a better word, was repugnant.
Jillian
Hall.
Victoria.
Victoria was all right.
She was okay. Tori Wilson, listen. Tori Wilson, I'm sorry, I'm going to offend any of our female viewers. I don't mean to. I don't mean to sound chauvinistic. But Tori Wilson is a diva. I don't consider her a female wrestler.
She's a second or a valet at best.
Yes.
But WWE has tried so hard over the past few years with her Hall of Fame induction to change the narrative that she was some trailblazing women's wrestler. And it's just not true. She was a valet. You know, nothing against her. She tried last night. It was fine.
Absolutely.
I don't know. The nostalgia just didn't work for me in this particular Royal Rumble, but I did enjoy the Women's Royal Rumble a lot. The thing other than Bianca Belair, I love Bianca Belair. I was so happy to see her get the win. But Billie Kay, man, she is a star. She needs to be on the TV every night. She needs to work as a valet, a commentator, or something. This character she has is just hilarious to me. And that was the running theme through the Rumble last night was, can Billie Kay find a tag team partner? And she got one in
Jillian, we lost Bob. But here's the thing, though. There were so many women coming through the ring that you could say, oh, maybe they'll strap their rocket onto this one. Maybe they'll push her. Maybe it's about time they get back. And it's like, you didn't really have that in the men's, which we'll talk about later. But, you know, one woman that I was really rooting for was Rhea Ripley. And, of course, Belair eliminated Ripley to win the Royal Rumble. And I thought that would have been a nice full circle. You could have had Ripley win the Royal Rumble and challenge Flair for the title at WrestleMania.
Exactly. And I think they did a good bait and switch at the end. Usually WWE is not too good with the bait and switch. Usually the fans come out on the short end of it. But last night, coming down to 3, I immediately thought Belair was going to get chucked, and it was going to be Ronda. Jesus, where's my head today? I saw that truly, and I'm just thinking, I want to sip. And you got my mind all blown. No, I just, I really think, you know, Charlotte and Rhea and Bianca being in there, I thought Bianca was going to get chucked, and they were going to get into some sort of fight and rekindling of a feud between Ripley and Charlotte, which now they still can do. Because I don't think they're going to take the Lacey storyline all the way to Mania. Mania is 69 days away from today, Monday, February 2nd. First, let's say.
First.
Yep. From the 1st, just in case somebody's watching this at another time. So, you know, I think that's a little too long, but you could easily get back into a Rhea and Charlotte feud, but it looks like they might be going the direction of Rhea and Alexa Bliss. Because right as Alexa was getting ready to transform or whatever you want to call
it, tossed out,
and laughed right in her face, humiliated her. That's not something that's going to play well with Little Miss Bliss. And we will see what happens tonight on Raw, I guess.
Well, you know, Bob, the following match was probably the match of the night. It was Roman Reigns as he defended his world title, or Universal title, against Kevin Owens in a last man standing match. And, you know, I was a little worried with how they could have booked this match. In my mind, the way that they've booked this feud has been phenomenal. SmackDown has been the one bright spot for the main roster of WWE. And Kevin Owens has been an unsung hero with getting this character of Roman Reigns over. And I thought for a split second they were going to pull the trigger, maybe have Kevin Owens get a quick win, maybe lose it the following week on SmackDown. But I thought they were going to pull the trigger, and just as Kevin Owens was about to win, Roman Reigns shoves the referee into the structure, knocks out the referee. He's handcuffed. It was an awkward thing. He was handcuffed to the structure, couldn't get out, couldn't stand up to break the count of 10, even though he wasn't knocked out. I thought that was a pretty impressive way to book the match, because I think as soon as we saw handcuffs come out, I think we all thought Kevin Owens was going to be handcuffed.
Yeah, definitely. But it was a measure of revenge, because a couple weeks ago on SmackDown, they had Uso and Roman had Owens handcuffed in the cage. And
in the cage, yep.
Out. So, you know, a little turn of the tide. I like the storytelling aspect of it. I am not a Roman Reigns guy. I am in the minority here. I know I'm in the minority. Everybody's loving this new Roman Reigns heel character. I don't think he has any charisma. I think he's very plotting. It's not my style of wrestling, but, you know, this match was fine. I think the finish, they should have rolled with the punches and accepted the mishap and then they could have easily gotten themselves out of it and put the belt back on Roman. But when they started having, like, the ref got to 7 at the end, the second ref, and then just stopped the
counting,
to go check on Owens or whatever, who was selling a nut shot for 3 minutes.
Because Heyman couldn't unlock the handcuffs.
Yeah, he jumped 15 foot off of a forklift through a table or whatever that was, got right back on his feet. But, you know, a nut shot's going to keep him down for 3 minutes. At that point in the match, I think that's where you lost credibility and you're taking points off. But, like, that referee should have went with the messed up finish and just figured a way out of it. And it would have made for more captivating TV, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And it would have added more realism to it, which is a huge problem these days.
You mentioned on the prediction show that, you know, Peacock and Fox, they kind of need some big things leading into WrestleMania.
They need something splashy.
Yeah, and I think a title change last night with Kevin Owens and then having a rematch this Friday and then maybe a switch back would have at least popped the number. It would have given us something to watch.
You also have Elimination Chamber.
That's true.
And then is Fastlane still a thing? You might have Fastlane still. And then they might hit the roadblock, as we discussed earlier.
Well, then that left us with the main event, which was the men's Royal Rumble. And you kind of mentioned this earlier with the women's, and I'm going to mention it for the men's. I think the problem with not announcing all 30 wrestlers is that we know there's going to be some surprises.
Sure.
And there were some duds. Now, there were some good ones. First of all, Carlito came back.
Carlito was back to the gills.
Yes, and he looked at me. He looked great. He did a kip up and everything. He looked great.
He looked better than he did in his prime. That's something they need to sign him up. He needs to get the MVP treatment.
Well, he's at Raw tonight, I read. So maybe they'll give him. So maybe they'll give him a chance. He's
going to be on. He'll be in the ring tonight. I don't know if he's wrestling, but they said he'll be on Raw tonight, and he's also getting a tryout as a producer.
Which is good. I mean, they could use somebody like him.
He's getting that MVP treatment from last year. It worked well for him.
And then, of course, we had the return of Captain Charisma, which for me, the moment of the night was him and Edge embracing. And
so up until that point, there was nothing to me that stood out in that Rumble. It wasn't the least bit memorable. It was really the last 20 minutes of that match that was memorable. I absolutely hated the way they booked the men's Royal Rumble last night. As far as Orton, I think we've just seen that too much. The guy that disappears early on, never got eliminated, return. Like, you could see the writing on the wall. You knew he wasn't hurt. Randy's a lot of things, and a good actor is not one of them. His face was the old, oh, damn, guess I'll leave. Like, oh, shucks.
Well, now they have
this. Back.
Well, we did. But to be fair, typically those guys win the match. And he did not. Edge threw him out.
A good swerve at the finish.
Mm-hmm. So Edge
swerve at the finish. The thing that didn't make any sense to me is where's the Fiend? I really thought the Fiend was going to have some part in Randy Orton's demise last night.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess they just decided to go a clean route, and I guess that'll continue whenever he comes back.
Well, I guess you're right. Going the clean route, that kind of puts the spotlight on Edge, which of course won the match.
Sure.
And it's not dirty, like you said, clean. It's not cheap.
Yeah.
And maybe tonight the Fiend will make his return, because there's definitely something there with. They're not done that feud yet. The Fiend and Orton is not.
No, definitely not.
You don't throw a fireball, and all the other stuff without getting the comeuppance. So
absolutely.
But Edge is going to go to WrestleMania. We don't know who he's going to challenge. Who do you think he should go after?
Oh, I don't know. I don't see them, unless they're going to turn Drew. They're not going to turn Edge right now. He's major babyface. I think he's got to go after Roman and tell some sort of story there. And working with a star the caliber of Edge is going to help elevate Roman that much more. If you can start filling Roman's resume with victories over big names, if you want to build him for the future. And Edge has said before, when he comes back, he's not going to be that guy who's not going to put people over. Like, he really wants to elevate the younger talent, which at the same time, I'm kind of surprised to see him win the Rumble and head into a main event at WrestleMania, because that's a slot. It's very contradictory and hypocritical almost. And, he's taking a spot from a younger guy who's been there all year, who could, like a Keith Lee or somebody that really
Who?
could have been elevated. Yeah, he wasn't even in the Rumble.
No one's even there.
But his real life girlfriend has COVID, so he might be precautionary. They just kept him out, but that was shocking because he was one of the stars last year.
Yeah.
It's a real shame what's happening with Keith Lee. So did you like the other nostalgia entrant of the Hurricane who had a big spot with Big E and Bobby Lashley?
No, I didn't like that. I did like Captain Charisma, like I said. I did not like Hurricane. And Kane was he needs to go back to being a mayor because he has that mayor bod now.
Yeah,
so
I'm good with that. He's not one of the returning legends that seems to have found the fountain of youth that Tori Wilson, Carlito, Edge, and Christian have found.
Right.
Because all four of those guys look phenomenal.
That's true.
And Tori Wilson, not a guy, but looked phenomenal going in that Royal Rumble. And Damien, it was very short on NXT call-ups. I mean, the women's Rumble had their call-ups with Shotzi and Santana Garrett, and was Casey Canizaro in there too?
Does she have a different name? I didn't know that name.
The little girl. She's real skinny, tiny. She was an American Ninja Warrior.
I don't remember. No.
I can't remember that either. But she was in last year. She does like the Kofi spot where she'll like walk on her hands or something. Like she does something crazy like that. But yeah, I thought Damian Priest really had a good showing. That dude is a star. Like you look at him, there's just something about him, and there's something that just clicked with him recently in NXT. He's going to be big things. I just hope he gets treated a little bit better than Keith Lee has been.
Well, I think he's main roster now. I think that so, was yeah. So hopefully, I mean, look, they get this new talent. They have NXT to raise this new talent, and then somebody like Keith Lee comes in, and then just you don't see him again. Somebody like Aleister Black, you don't see him again. Ricochet, all these guys who were excelling in NXT just get lost in the shuffle. I don't know why. I don't know why it happens.
Let a guy like Aleister Black just sit on the bench.
I don't know, but I think your sweatshirt is a good place for him to go because I just,
him and the wife.
Him and the wife. I mean,
he's phenomenal too.
Yeah, right.
But yeah.
So, Bob, what would you give the Royal Rumble? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I'm gonna put my thumb right in the middle. I think it was fine. I wasn't not entertained at any time, but there's no part of me that's going to go back and hit play again on it. Gotcha. And I don't think I'll remember it in a couple weeks.
That's fair.
However, I did not, if I could just have a second.
Yeah.
I did not elaborate on just how good I thought Bianca Belair was. That to me was very memorable, and her raw emotion in the promo after she won was the stuff like they've got a crave in the back when stuff like that happens, because that's natural. It's organic. Like you got to push somebody like that as a top baby face immediately. The crowd will be behind her. She wore emotions on her sleeve after she won last night, and I really think it's deserved, and I can't wait to see what's next for her. But what do you give the show as a whole? I'm
going to say thumb slightly up.
Three-quarter thumb?
I thought, yeah, three-quarter. The Orange Cassidy Cup. Yeah, Orange Cassidy.
So,
there you go. A lazy thumb, because the Universal title match between Reigns and Kevin Owens was phenomenal. The Women's Rumble was great, and Carmella really impressed me again. She was in the ring with Sasha, but that match was better than I expected as well. So the Men's Rumble just let me down. I think if they had opened that and ended with the women's, I would have been much happier.
I agree. The women's match was tough to overcome. I did enjoy the Women's Royal Rumble a lot. And, a lot of that was – and we got two Iron people this year.
Yeah.
We got
number 3 and number 1.
Number 3 and 1, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was impressive this year. Be interested to see where they go next year, since we did 2 Iron Men and women. Where do we go? Do we do it again, or do we, somebody later on?
Guess what? To find out next year, and then we'll recap it here on Point Counterpoint.
Absolutely.
So, for Bob Stedford, I am Mark Lindsay. We thank you for tuning in to our Royal Rumble recap. Hey, Bob, let's do this again sometime. What do you say?
Yeah, all right. That's all right.
Until next time, we'll see you at the matches. Goodbye, everybody.
Keep it too sweet.